Welcome to Mindshifters Radio. Delighted that you're with us, and we have to move forward in this conversation to the next level about this awesome topic of first century Aramaic forgiveness and the derivative tools that we've developed out of that first century Aramaic tool over the last 50 plus years. So we're delighted to be in our 15th year of delivering this message, of carrying on this conversation that is here to assist and support each person in building the brain cells for living differently than from the traditional cultural brainwash of, you have to be under stress about what's going on in the culture. You have to be in pain about what's going on for other people. And of course, other people are the reason you're in pain. Well, all of that is a cultural lie. And it is so deeply embedded that it is extremely difficult to step past or outside of that belief system. And so as you bring these tools forward into your world, what you'll find is that you get to develop a whole different understanding of the way the world works. And what happens is one moves out of living in perception, believing that whatever your mind tells you you are is true, going beyond the dynamic of perception. You'll remember one of the big lessons from the Course in Miracles, at least one of my favorites, is the one that is tapped into the question of what is the world and how do you forgive? If you haven't watched that lesson lately, or if you haven't watched it at all, you might go to our YouTube channel, and you do that by either going to whyagain.org, and if you look in the upper right-hand corner of our homepage or any of the pages there, you'll see the social media links. You click the YouTube channel and then just type in Michael Ryce, and then search down the list and hit the search button and look for what is the world. It's a profoundly powerful lesson. And in essence, the message of that particular lesson is that we all live in a world called false perception. We live in a set of pictures generated by our minds, fed to us via images painted on the inside of our eyeballs. That's probably one of the biggest lessons for people to get. One of the biggest challenges to break through is that the pictures you're looking at are not images of what's happening in the outer world. There are enough reference points for us to believe that that's what we're looking at. But the truth is, what we're looking at is images generated by our own brains and projected in a metaphorical way onto the inside of our eyeballs. And what we're looking at is an internal picture of what the mind is thinking, an outpicturing of our thoughts. The mind has this amazing capacity. Really grasp this one, and you've got a good foot in the door of total and complete healing. The mind has the ability, without us even asking it to do so, to turn every thought we hold into a picture, literally converting the information held in our thoughts into pictures. And the pictures produced out of those thoughts will always be a reflection of those pictures. But because we've been taught we're looking out through our eyes and we're seeing what's out there, we think we're actually looking at something out there. It's the biggest lie ever told. And so to bypass that lie, one has to understand something about the way the mind works. And the mind is a device that simply shows you in pictures what you're thinking. Now, It doesn't matter whether the thought is about yourself or about someone else, but the other thing that happens, and you could imagine, this database, and the picture bounces up, the data bounces up and you get a picture showing up above the database. And on the opposite side, whatever it is that's moving in the way of thought is also producing effects and sensations in your tissue structure. So if I have a painful thought and I realize that that painful thought is mine and it's about me, and when I see a painful thought, I mean a thought that when I think it moves energy called pain within my structure. When I can own that that thought is mine and it's about me, I have the opportunity to change it. If I think that thought about someone else, oh, you're the one who's making me angry. That's called denial, by the way, in this work. Denial is the act of thinking or speaking as though something outside of us is the cause of what's moving inside of us. So as long as I'm in this denial state, you cause this pain, this sadness. Well, but Michael, you don't understand. I was so abused. How could it not be them? Well, let me adjust my statement a little bit then. Shy of someone, cancel the thought, punching you in the nose, all pain within your energy system, number one, is yours. Number two, is correctable. It's removable. The removal process is called forgiveness. But if you're in denial, you're the one who's causing this pain. What happens, and again, this is why understanding how the mind works is so important. When in denial, thinking as though something outside of me is the cause of what's moving inside of me, I have to hide the cause of what's moving inside of me. And as I do, I have pictures that prove that you're the problem in my life. Sooner or later, I have to notice. And one of the questions I'll often ask is, has anybody ever taken the geographic cure? Where you go to the other side of the country, where people will be different, and the person that picks you up at the airport finishes a sentence that the person that dropped you off started? How do they know what to say to you? Here's how they know. Every energy you hold within you, literally, is an energy, and by definition, energy is motion. Everything that moves creates waves. If I throw a pebble in a pond, there are going to be waves that will ripple out, and if I could see waves underwater, I'd see not only the disturbance on the surface of the water, which of course is visible to us from outside the pond, but if I were under the water and that wave dropped in, that pebble dropped in, I'd see the waves, I'd see the disturbance in the field of the water going out in all directions from that pebble. As it dropped down toward the bottom of the pond, I would see those waves moving out in all directions. Every time you think a thought, that's what happens. The energy moving in your mind sets up a wave. Now, why is it that so reliably when I take the geographic cure, somebody on the other end knows exactly what to do, exactly what to say to bring it up in me again? Because I am continuously communicating energetically what I expect to happen. And through those energetic dynamics, I get to call in people, unconsciously, of course, to play those things out with me. So when I take the geographic cure and I get off the plane on the other end, I'm 10,000 miles away. I've been on a plane for 48 hours, and boy, I got rid of them. And lo and behold, this person that picks me up at the airport, there they are. Same conversation, bringing up the same pain. Why is the same pain coming up in me? Because the same pain is in me. But if I dissociate from it, this tricky thing called the mind, perception, of course, my thought is, you're the one causing my pain. What does my mind do with that? If I think I'm looking at you and I hold the thought, you're the cause of my pain, my mind converts that thought into a picture, and I'll see a picture of you being the cause of my pain. Again, when you've been through it 87 different times and you can admit you're the only one that was there every time, then you've started the process of being able to open what was in the ancient teaching called the veil of the temple, The veil of the temple was not a purple curtain in a church. The veil of the temple is a barrier between the subconscious and the unconscious. And when I can take responsibility for that and begin to work through it, then the whole game changes. And Miss Tiffany, delighted that you're here. Welcome. Good morning. How are you? Hello.
Hey,
Are you with
Michael,
us?
it's Carrie.
Well, hey there, young lady.
Hey,
How are you?
it's Carrie, Muddock, and Tiffany, all three here together.
Howdy,
Oh,
howdy.
awesome.
And we love your chat you just gave. We have questions. I'm sure you have answers.
Please, please, all the questions you can come up with. I'm delighted to be here with at least some input and some answers that will be hopefully helpful and useful.
Well, one thing I'd like to say is the deeper that we go, we're studying your codependence course, and it's just amazing, taking us to deeper and deeper levels. And the whole thing of the power person dynamic and how it just gifts us with our whole generation's patterns and ways of responding to life that we need to clear away is just amazing. It's just mind blowing, and how much that runs our lives.
Well, it's the good news and the bad news because of course we get all the unresolved dynamics, but we also get the strengths, the skills, the powers, the abilities of
Mm.
those
Oh,
previous generations. So yeah, we're given the powers and the abilities that come with those generations, but they tend to be buried as long as there are unresolved dynamics that we haven't owned yet. They tend to be covered up because literally every time we push something away, every time we get an opportunity to heal something and we push it away, by pushing it away, we create more intensity in it. So it tends to be the next thing that springs up the fastest and the easiest. So
Wow.
there's a mixed blessing in it for sure.
that's right. I remember operating heavy equipment when I first got into it. I loved it. And then I went and visited my grandma and I was telling her about it. And she said, "Didn't you know that's what my dad did? He was a mule skinner for the railroads out by El
Oh
Paso."
wow, that's it.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's exactly
it's
it.
awesome.
I love it. And one of the big things that impacted me, one of your lessons talks about um, the jail in Michigan, where
Oh
the
right,
inmates 23 hours out of out of the 24 they have to be in their cell, and their excuse for not having that worksheets 5 worksheets a day was they were too busy.
too busy.
And
Yep,
oh my gosh, that plowed my field, and I've been doing 5 a day ever since. And
awesome.
noticing the differences each day, just every day, I notice different things that are amazing. One of them, which is very peculiar to me, somewhere in my adulthood, I started printing in block letters like an architect. And doing
Right.
these worksheets, my hand's been hurting, and I found myself starting to go back into cursive. And so the last couple of days, I've been writing in cursive, and it looks like a little kid writing, but and now I'm hearing you talking about going back to our origins and to our something's going on there. Can you talk to that? I'm freaking out over it.
Yeah, actually, that's one of Jeannie's favorite topics because one day she was doing a worksheet and all of a sudden looked at her handwriting and she like has this very beautiful practiced handwriting and she looked at it and she's like, that looks like the hand scratching of a 5-year-old. And she realized that she was dealing with an issue from when she was about 5. And she had reverted back to writing the way she did when she was 5. Yeah, the whole energy system, time is that could be a whole conversation, but basically this whole thing about time is an illusion and the mind can't tell the difference between a real and imagined experience. So in the same way, for instance, I might go back if I'm dealing with an issue of a 5-year-old, I might go back and write the way I wrote then. I might also go back and interpret the world the way I did then, through the not understanding, through the guilt, the fault, the blame maybe that was going on in my world, and I'll have that will seem natural the same way that writing like the 5-year-old wrote is natural. And one of the things that the breath does, if you just catch this metaphor, is imagine that the breath is a balloon that when you really breathe, that's why the reminders there in the worksheet to breathe so often. Just imagine that it creates an expansive energy that throws literally all of those old dynamics off. of the whole system, and in particular, right down to and clears those energies out of the genetics.
That's
You know,
amazing.
there's an interesting misinterpretation in the scriptures, and for me, one of the most exciting discoveries, or many of the most exciting discoveries I've had, are to recognize that what we were told in church that kind of sounded like churchianity is actually real and applies right exactly where we live. And the one that comes to mind with what we're talking about currently is there's a misinterpretation of the statement that says, according to the Greeks, the denial of the Holy Spirit is the unforgivable sin. And there's this thing about some kind of disembodied spirit being, and it just becomes kind of a fantasy in people's lives. But bring it down to the reality, the word that was translated as Holy Spirit in Aramaic is ruka dekucha, and it literally is the breath. And in Aramaic, it more deeply talks about literally a feminine elemental force in us that undoes the effects of our errors and teaches us the truth. It's with the breath, when we allow it access to the deepest parts of the cell, to the deepest parts of our genes, that that breath can go in and literally scoop that energy out of the cell, out of the genes, and throw it off. But denial, holding the breath, you watch people in trauma, and most people in trauma hold their breath continuously. And when you hold the breath, that literally is the denial of the power that can scoop the trash out of your cellular structure. So that's why the instruction is there to breathe and make sure that you do that. And all of those dynamics, whether it was from a 5-year-old or the generational memory of 5-year-olds 10 generations back, doesn't matter. There is this awesome power in the breath that can reach into every level, every dimension, and when invited to do so, will literally clear those energies out or forgive those energies that never belonged. And denial of that leaves us not, it's not the unforgivable sin, that's the misunderstanding of it. It's the error that leaves us stuck in our error, because we don't have the power, the ability to move that energy on our own. I don't know how to move that energy.
Wow, is that kind of new information, Michael, that Ruka Dakucha is the breath?
No, that's right.
No,
I
no,
mean,
that's
oh,
that.
rock. No.
Yeah, that one's been around for quite a while. If you go back to the creation story, it doesn't say that God sent out his spirit. The word there is ruka. It says God sent out his breath. It's literally our direct
Oh,
connection.
I see.
And when they speak of there's only one power that can forgive, and that's God, that again, you get down to the reality of it. And what you have is not that God's judged us and therefore is the only one who can forgive us. That a denial and dissociation type of interpretation of the Greeks, but rather that the creator is the power that says, I'm here, I'm in you, tell me what you want. Do you want to hold on to this drama and trauma? Okay, I can't change your mind for you because I've given you free will. So go ahead, hold your breath, hold on to your trauma, and keep beating yourself up. But the day you're ready and you start to allow yourself to take a full free breath, you've liberated me within your tissue structure to remove those energies, to forgive them. It's got nothing to do with the idea, I've been forgiven. Nobody's ever going to be forgiven
Right.
because nobody by the creator has ever been judged. But the creator is the only one who can forgive. That seems like a conflict until you get to the refinement of it. But what it's saying is it's only the breath of the creator that was given to us that can move those energies, undo those energies within our structure. And that's what forgiveness means, to let loose, to untie, to
Wow.
get rid of.
Powerful.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because one of the things that I'm noticing as I'm going through the worksheets also is that, because I've been a healer and a body worker for about 25 years now. And
Right?
as I'm working through the emotional parts of it, I'm noticing the different pains in my body will come up to be worked out as well that are correlated to that. And when I specialize in structural deep tissue, and I have a style that I do called breathe deep. And
Right? Right
part
on.
the part of releasing those deeper traumatized muscles in the body is the breath. And so as you're talking, I'm connecting all the pieces into that as well.
That's it, exactly, right on track. And you'll notice when you're working on somebody, when you get to one of those places that's tight and locked up and painful, what do most people do?
Hold your
Lock the
breath.
breath down. Stop. No, I
Yep.
don't want to feel. And they tighten their whole bodies
Yep.
and they move away from what's showing them what they can release. And so to reverse that process, to gently soften, open, notice all the tight places, invite the pressure in. Like, if you've got your hand in someone's back, for the person on the other end of it that's getting tight and locking out, for them to just invite and breathe your hand right into the tissue.
Yep.
All of a sudden, high speed, fast forward, that stuff resolves in an instant. But boy, when one's in resistance, and then, another piece of the puzzle, in Aramaic, the word Satan has got nothing to do with the dude out there with the red suited tail and a pitchfork. In Aramaic, it's an internal thing, and it is the resistor, one who misleads. And you'll notice, you've probably had this experience, me working, having my hands on a lot of bodies over the years, have seen this over and over and over again. When somebody's in resistance, they're locked up, holding their breath. No, I don't want to feel this. They're in resistance and they've got a whole story about somebody else. But when you can get them to take a breath, soften into it, and embrace that energy, all of a sudden the resistance is gone and they start talking about themselves. Usually that's when a body memory comes up, right?
Right.
Now the
Yeah.
resistor, the one who misleads, is gone. They're freed, unfettered from Satan. But what those who didn't understand it made it some thing out there about some dude with the red suit, the tail, and the pitchfork, rather than this internal process. And so, yeah, it's awesome. So, congratulations on doing that kind of body work. That's amazing. How do you find when you're working with someone and they're going through a trauma like that? And I'm saying this from experience of working with people, because oftentimes if I'm working on someone and they're going through a trauma similar to one that was moving in me, I find that I'm the one I have to remind to breathe first.
Yes.
because
Yes.
because the energy moving, what I've noticed over the years is that I tend to draw people into my field of influence who have the issues that I need to work on, that give me the opportunity to learn to forgive what I need to forgive. And as I become more and more willing, it gets easier and easier, rather than having to be in that kind of resistance.
Yes, 100%. I'm breathing with them from the very beginning. It's a reminder to both of us.
Yes, yeah, awesome, nice catch. Yeah, and to me that's so exciting. Like every principle when you go through those ancient teachings, they had all this, they knew all this, but what the Greeks did is they turned it around. You listen to this man Yeshua, and he doesn't talk about some punishing creature out there somewhere in the sky. He talks about a power within named love that's here to support you. Turns the whole Greek idea around. And once you realize that that presence of love is inside of you and is delivered through the breath, whew, everything changes.
Beautiful.
Everything changes. And, when you start looking at the generations, when you look at the scriptural idea that said the sins of the father are passed, yea, unto 3 and 4 generations. And I can remember being a kid and thinking, oh, I'm getting punished for what my parents did. But understanding it from an energetic point of view, and what the Aramaic was saying, what they were saying, first of all, the word sin is just an archery term that means off the mark. Like you're not on target with this energy. So the energetic patterns of the generations tend to be locked into tissue, generation upon generation upon generation. And when I recognize that, then I become willing to open and embrace and literally take on the unresolved energetic dynamics of my generations. And I think that's just such an awesome gift that we can give to our own ancestors.
Aho.
Aho.
Wake up sheet question.
Yes, please.
5A.
Running to the end of it while holding love conscious, active, and present, I now choose to collapse my mind's lies by willingly canceling my goal. 41C2. And the two there, I've been putting there the root that comes up. What is supposed to go there?
Yeah, what I'm doing is I'm bringing my answer from number 1C, or pardon me, from number 3, my goal.
Yes.
I copy my goal word for word into that space. So I'm going to, whatever the goal was that I identified around this situation when I got into number 3, what did I want from this object of attention?
Okay.
Oh, I wanted my father's approval. Okay. So then, and it's really important to ferret out the real goal that's going on, because let's say, for instance, I might have a goal, and that might be an appropriate one to work with, but oftentimes when I cancel that goal, I'll find that underneath it are other goals, and it's not until I get to the precise one that fits the external circumstance that's going on today that I'm going to really get relief from that issue. So I might have a surface goal that looks like, maybe my father yelled at me. So what I wanted him to do was to honor me. And until I get to realize that what I wanted him to honor me, I might say, well, what I want him to do was to speak to me lovingly, gently, and with respect. That would be a goal that would be a good one to cancel, but it's not the core goal if what I wanted or what I felt I was missing from him was being honored. And it's not
Okay.
until I get to that exact goal. And that's why you might do, when they asked Yeshua, Peter says, hey, how many damn worksheets do we have to do anyway? Is 7 enough? 7 times should I forgive my brother? And actually in Aramaic, he didn't say forgive my brother. He said forgive as to my brother, the work I'm going to do around what my brother brings up. And Yeshua, in the Greek translations, it says 7 times 70. In Aramaic, there are translations that say he said 77 times 70, which I don't think is a literal number. I don't think the disciples, the fishermen were going 7 sevens, 49, carry the 4, trying to figure out exactly how many worksheets they should do. But
Right.
basically, what he was saying is, you're going to do an infinite amount of work around that issue until you're finished with it. And if it's been in your bloodline for 30 generations, that means that it's impacted. If you do the math, in 30 generations of each one of us, there are 1.6 billion people. What do you suppose a major power person dynamic 30 generations back, what do you suppose the energy is, the explosive energy that's built up over 1.6 billion people going through that issue time after time and never having the tools or the awareness to resolve it? What's the impact of that? What's the energetic dynamic of that going to be? It's going to be mega major.
Yeah, that's a lot of doo-doo.
That's a lot of doo-doo. Yes. Yep.
So my question is, where does the root come up? Because I'm collapsing the goal. I'm finding root issues, but where do I write that down? I mean, and then
So then
I
in number
love doing the
6.
mass canceling.
Yeah. So yeah. So but then when you get down to number 6, now you're looking at, and it always amazes me. I've been done worksheet with thousands of people over the last 40 years, and it always amazes me if people will just cancel that goal, breathe, and get quiet,
Yep, yep,
and
yep.
they'll drop into a memory, and that goes in number 6. How do I feel now? Well, up here I was enraged, and now here I feel, well, kind of like, I feel okay. And then what's the thought? Oh, I could see this was about a fight I had with my sister 20 years ago. It isn't about the female boss at work. And geez, now I look at the situation number 1 with the female boss at work, and it's like, this is the most common comment that I've gotten back from people over the years when they get down to number 6. It's like, why did I even think that was such a big deal?
Ah,
Well, it was a big deal until you process the energy behind it. And now, literally, seconds later, you go, well, that's not such a big deal,
that's right.
because you process through that energy. And that oftentimes happens totally unconsciously. It's just like, there was this big light on it, and all of a sudden, going through canceling, dropping into that part of the unconscious, allowing the memory to surface, exposing it to active present love, and it dissolves. I mean, it's literally gone in an instant.
Literally. And then my emotional upset level after is that it's down there at a 1 or a 0.
Exactly. People often move from a 10 to a 2 or a 3 or a 0. Exactly.
And I love the mass canceling section
Yes,
This is so powerful. I can see in my mind like the defrag of the computer where all the colors light up of that same frequency that I've been feeling, and they just blip 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 blip. They just go away. Poof.
exactly. And when I look at one of those issues where I have a number of sets of initials to put in that mass canceling, that's when I'm usually looking at a power person dynamic.
Ah,
And
what I
and
found
when
there
I do,
is that it's that I've done it all my life. These are things that I've been doing all my life.
yeah, yeah. There's a book about that. It's called "Why Is This Happening to Me Again?" So some
Great.
people title it "Why Am I Doing This to Myself Again?" But yeah, I mean, there's a theme. Most people have a theme. It's the one established by the messages they were given by their power person, and they live their whole lives oblivious to its impact on them. And the objective of that codependence to interdependence intensive, and I don't know if you've gotten to the extended power person worksheet yet, but actually for 25 years I've taught the codependence work, and then when we did the intensive, or one of them, in that self-study series, there are two intensives integrated together. But in one of them, we really got into the power person stuff, and a worksheet that I had used for 25 years that was a single page became a 14-page worksheet out of that workshop. It was really
Wow.
an awesome. So when you get to that, you'll have fun with that 14-page power person worksheet.
I don't know if we have a copy of that here.
Thank you. I haven't seen it yet, but
Well,
I'll look
you'll
for it.
come up. It'll come later in the workshop, and it'll
Okay.
be in the list of sheets that that Jeannie should have sent you a spreadsheet, and there should be a link to that in the
Oh,
spreadsheet.
okay, great. I
That's where
will.
all the worksheets are.
Do you have a spreadsheet?
Yeah, no, well, I'll look. Let me look.
She's gonna look and
Yeah,
see if
there'll
yes.
be
Yeah,
an email.
we have the
Yeah, it's
spreadsheet.
in the
So
spreadsheet with the links to the different the 90 hours of
Oh,
video.
okay. That one. Okay.
I didn't realize
Yeah,
there were sheets in there.
yeah.
So yeah, um, Tiffany liked that explanation because she said she's been getting stuck on that question.
Yeah, I thought we were supposed to come up with a new goal. So I've been like, well, what's my new goal? I don't freaking
Ah,
know.
She was talking about
no, that's
6A.
you. That you want to bring the goal that you've identified. You're prepping yourself to cancel that goal. So up in number 3, you identified what it is you wanted specifically,
Right.
and then in 5A, that's where you bring the goal down. You cancel the goal, and then you invite Ruka to go to work. That's when you go into process, and then you're going to document the shift in how you're feeling physically, mentally, emotionally, what your perception is of the situation, and then is when you bring in a conscious goal based in love toward that object of attention. So the last step in the worksheet, then in step 7, as I give, I receive. I get the original, they get the carbon copy. So if I've been sitting around going, oh, I just wish they'd love me, I just wish they'd love me, I just wish they'd love me,
Mm.
and I get down to number 7, and based on that issue, what am I going to do? I'm going to simply hold them in a space of love. Who gets to experience being held in a space of love if I give that to you? I do.
Got it.
I do.
I do.
So,
That's right.
yeah, yeah. So that's how that's designed to unfold.
I'm looking at my writing based on what you said just a moment ago, and this worksheet was on money, and
Right?
and that's when my and that's what the last few days have been, and I reverted back, and yeah, this is my teenage writing. This is my teenage writing. This is where I picked up all this stuff, and then of course on the end it ends up with I always have all I need and more. So
All right.
we're shifting. I love this. I love this. Thank you.
Awesome. And one of the things to be aware of when you talk about, money is an issue you're working on at this moment. One of the things to be aware of is that we tend to have more than one power person. And so I might have one person as my power person that was my model around money. I might have a different one for relationships. I might have a different one for creativity. I might have a different one for myself. And the way you can tell who your key power person is in any given situation is, remember, when you're ultra stressed, there's the third level of behavior. As long as the power person dynamic is locked in to the unconscious, there are only three behaviors that person will do through their whole lives. And, I've verified this with person after person after person, including myself. And that is that when there's little or no stress, I'll do what I did to get along with my power person. When stress starts to build, I'll do what I did to resist and survive with my power person. And when I become ultra stressed, I'll do what my power person did to me that I hated the most. My offering is what runs the world. And that's how you tell who your key power person is in any given situation. Whose behavior are you mimicking? Jeannie has a good story she tells about this when we do the codependence workshop, and that is that when she was a kid, her nemesis was mom. They always were at conflict. She was always, that's where all the issues seemed to be. Her dad was an angel. Her dad was just a sweet presence and an angel. And in one of the codependence intensives, she's doing a worksheet, and all of a sudden went, "Oh my God, it's not my mom, it's my dad."
Uh,
How did she get to that? Well, you know, Jeannie was raised primarily in Bristol, Virginia, and the old family farm, is about 2 hours away in a small town in a little further north in Virginia, north and west. And what Dad would do is he'd go to the farm whenever he wasn't working because he had the farm to take care of. And that left Jeannie alone at home with Mom. So Dad leaving was an unconscious issue for her. And it was like a major breakthrough because at one point after her first marriage, she divorced. And I forget how many times she moved, but it was something like 18 different times within a year she moved.
within a
And it
year.
was whenever she was stressed, she'd leave. She'd do exactly what her
Uh,
dad did. And it was like, bingo, ah. And of course, when we met, when we got together, leaving was always an issue. That was always on the plate. It had always been an issue for me, but it was one that I'd pretty much worked through. It's like, if I'm making a commitment here, I'm here, that's it. And it took us a little while to get leaving off the table, to get rid of that
wow.
particular dynamic. Actually several years of work to clear that one out where, okay, we're here, that's it, we're committed. Okay, leaving stuff comes up, it comes up, let's process it, rather than, oh my God, I'm out of here.
Right. Instead of engaging with it or being engaged by it.
Exactly. Do the work around it, and to recognize, when you've probably, from the time you've been doing that self-study codependence series, you've probably done the healing through relationships. And so that's where in the commitment there's that thing, I'm here, that's it, I'm here for and with you. If I make this commitment, I'm here. Okay, leaving stuff may come up in me and it may be horrendous, and what I'm committed to, well, gee, what's that last paragraph say? Oh, I'm here for you and with you, keeping communication open. And I'm going to work on keeping love conscious, active, and present as we heal, celebrate life, and grow together. And so it changes for many people. I mean, that leaving issue is mega major. You look at this country and how separated families are every which way but loose around the country.
Yes,
And I
yes.
think a major reason for that is because of that leaving issue. It's like, if I can just get away, if I can just take the geographic cure, then I won't have to deal with this. Ha
Right.
ha ha. Good
So
luck.
wherever I go, there I am.
There you are. Yeah, exactly.
Could you speak about, I haven't heard it in the videos yet, but Carrie talks about Cuba, Rahma
Right.
and
And
Cuba.
Cuba. Yes. Sure. When they said to Yeshua, eh, what's most important in the law? And a precursor to this conversation I always present is that virtually every important word in Yeshua's teachings has been turned exactly 180 degrees backward by the Greeks. So law, notice in this culture, law is the rule of a superior. There's a king. The king's going to tell you what to do. If you violate it, you'll be punished. There's a God. God made the rules, and you're going to be punished if you don't follow them. But that's not what the word means in Aramaic. Law is not the rule of a superior, and the superior is out to get you if you flub on the law. In the Aramaic, the word law is how it works. So in essence, they made this request of Yeshua. What's most important? If you're going to be a human being, what's most important in the law? He didn't say, love God, love neighbor as yourself. What he said was, have Rachma. When you think of the Creator, when you think of neighbor, for by so doing you maintain self. Rachma, we discovered, is a filter over the frontal lobes of the brain. It was interesting. There's several communities around the world that still speak Aramaic. And in the early days of developing this work, I actually had possession of the Kabor's manuscript and was traveling around to different imaging facilities working to get high resolution images of the pages of this manuscript. And I was out in California, and there was a group in Irvine area that were Aramaic speaking native peoples. And we, took the manuscript to them. We had some great conversations with them, and we asked them what this word Rachma meant. And what they said is, we don't know anymore exactly what that word means.
Wow.
But our tradition says that it's the most precious jewel that you could have, like a diamond or ruby or whatever.
Right.
They said that was their tradition. And so what Rachma is it's a filter in the frontal lobes of the brain, a gateway that when it is open is the pathway that love enters the human form. That human life, our created essence, enters our human form. If only one filter can be active at a time, and there are three. There's Rachma, there's hostility, and there's fear over the frontal lobes of the brain where intentions are stored. If hostility or fear are active, the gate's closed, there's no human life. How many times have you had the thought, which a lot of people have, it's like, you look at some of the horrors that have been committed on the earth and you say, how could a human being possibly do that sort of thing? Like it's beyond conception.
Yes.
Well, if there's no human life there, that's how it happens. So if Rachma is shut down because hostility or fear is active, then any kind of behavior that's stored in carbon-based memory will seem like the right thing to do. And that's how atrocities happen. So Yeshua says, most important, first order business, if you're going to be human, you got to have the gateway open for love, your human life, to enter your human form. Now, there is, when that's active, and it does two things. Again, it's a gateway and it's a filter. And what happens is when Rachma is active, the filters of hostility and fear are shut down. Only one can be active at a time.
Okay.
So negative or destructive intentions disappear when Rachma is active, and only intentions keyed to love can be available to the mind for use. The reason that's important is because intentions, and it's interesting, we live in a culture where I think there's even a book out there called The Power of Intention, like intention. The gentleman who owned the Kabor's manuscript, who was my partner, one of his favorite sayings about intention was that an intention can no more move a muscle than a shadow can carry a stone.
Wow.
It looks like there's power there, but it's fake. An intention is the raw material of a goal, and it's only the setting of a goal that can move a muscle. So if Rachma is active, all data available for use in setting goals is going to be based in love. Then there's a second corresponding filter over the back part of the brain where perception happens. And that filter is called Kuba. Similar in activity to Rachma, it's a filter that only allows units of perceptual memory keyed to love to be used by the mind in forming your perceptions. When they said perfect love casts out fear, perfect love is Rachma and Kuba active simultaneously. Now that the filter that allows only intentions keyed to love and active present love to be in the mind, and Kuba that allows only data based in love to be used to build perception, means that the mind, no matter what it's facing, cannot produce a fear-based reality because there's no fear data available to it. They're inhibited by the activity of Rahman and Kuba.
So
And
Kuba means
we have a
yeah.
page on that
So,
on the website. I'll send you a link to.
and Michael, am I
Yes,
correct in saying that when I say breathe and smile, I'm saying activate Rakma and Kuba?
my take is, and I love that you did that. And you know, is it copyrighted art if I use that? Because you're right on.
Yeah,
Yes.
of
Yeah,
course.
you're right on with that. I remember way back in the early days you came up with that. And
Yeah,
yes, that would be a way of that to me is a great trigger for, oh yeah, I'm remembering to keep my mind on track with active present moment.
right.
That I
And
am
so,
human.
and Rakma,
Yeah.
in the frontal lobe of the brain, is activated by breathing and no
Yeah,
smiling,
yeah, yeah.
breathing, and
It's the breath.
the
And
breath.
choosing.
No, isn't Rakma smiling and Kuba is breathing?
Well,
No,
I would put them both together. I would not separate them. I'd say they're
right.
one and the same.
Okay, I agree with that. But I
Yeah.
say there's a literal neural plexus in the frontal lobe of the brain and the back of the brain that when we breathe and smile, we activate those to be operating in the optimum way through loving perceptions and intentions.
I would everything that I know would say amen to you to that.
And it's
Absolutely.
instant. There's no
Yes.
waiting. There's
It's
no
instant.
delay.
Yeah.
It's instant.
Yeah.
That's what's magical about it.
I practice it out in the public, like I go into the post office and I walk in and everybody's standing there serious and I breathe and smile. And
Yeah.
I get everybody breathing and smiling, just by
Yeah.
doing it. And it's amazing how much you can change everything around you by
Yes.
entering into that state with that simple action.
It's the essence.
One of the things we get into in the laws of living class is that when you think of everything as energy and you understand resonance and energy exchanges, that a condition active in one mind, if there is a matching energy available in another mind, is going to be activated in that other mind
Right.
just by simple, it's like the two tuning forks. I hit a middle C tuning fork on the desk. If there's a second middle C tuning fork in front of it, that second tuning fork can't say, well, I'm not going to vibrate.
Right.
It has no choice. It's just an energy exchange.
Yeah.
And so when one holds to that space, and of course, we've all gone into a room and went, whoa, what's so heavy in here? Or we've all gone into a room and went, whoa, lightness and joy. It's because that's the literal energy that's active. And we
Right.
can be choosers of what energies are active in us. And if we hold energies that are based in hostility or fear that become activated, we can choose to forgive them.
Right.
And and my take is, the only thing that will ever kill anybody is the activity of hostility or fear. Literally, that's the only thing that's ever killed anyone.
Right. And when
And
you
what
say forgive them, I instantly go cancel, release, and let go.
right. And in Aramaic, Yeshua never said forgive them. That was never a thing. There are two words. Every
Right.
time that the scriptures are translated by or pardon me, let's forget this. There is not a Greek translation of the scriptures. There are Greek interpretations of the scriptures. There are no translations because they're so radically opposite. This cannot even resemble a translation. But
Gotcha.
everywhere that the Greeks translated forgive your brother, it doesn't say that. It says in Aramaic, it says forgive as to your brother. So if you and I interact, Merrick, and you're my brother, and you bring up my rage, I don't forgive you for my rage. I forgive as to what you brought up in me, my rage, my
Ah, okay.
sadness, my grief.
Okay.
So every time that instruction is misinterpreted by the Greeks as you're going to forgive your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your neighbor. No, forgive as to what came up in you. What is it that you need to handle that's destroying your tissue structure? And my take is that the purpose of life is to kick us right square in the limitation, to show us what's killing us. But what most people do is they live in denial. You made me mad. You made me sad. You hurt me. You upset me. You disturbed me. It's all your fault. And now that I'm in denial, I've literally dissociated or made absolutely inaccessible the root of what I need to handle and heal in order to be free of this trauma. And it's only when I step into responsibility and take a breath and go, oh, here I am again. This is my mental illness. for me, this was a good stepping stone in my own personal process because, all of our minds have been programmed to project. If I'm in pain, oh, they. When I
Right.
start saying to myself, when you said that to me, it brought up such rage,
Right.
and I can't imagine how that could be my rage, but I'm the one that's got it, and I'm going to own that this is my mental illness. This is my mind misfiring and misfunctioning, and I'm ready to heal it. And when I can say that to myself, even though my mind has got, I mean, literally this whole detailed picture world about how it's all your fault, if I can stop and go, I have hostility or fear moving in me, I don't need to know anything else to know that there's a mental illness going on in my mind showing me a lie. And what I want to do is find the goal that's driving this lie, cancel the goal so it collapses. I can get to drop directly into what is really going on under the surface and clean it out, be free of it. That's where you hear the scriptures talking. Take care of the heart, for out of it are the issues in life. That word heart in our modern language would be the unconscious. Notice they didn't say take care of the other guy or take care of the head, for out of it are
Right.
the issues in life. Take care of the unconscious, this massive database that has been in development for eons in each of our bloodlines and carries, all we have to do is look at the history to get some sense of what's in there. I mean, it's pretty bizarre, pretty insane.
So do you think it's true that the Greeks didn't understand what the unconscious was, and
Absolutely.
they didn't purposely put out misinformation, they just did the best they knew?
I think they did the best they knew. Were there people who understood and destroyed it? It's
Maybe.
hard to say.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. No, let me back up. If they knew, it's not possible to do it.
Right.
So we could only say they didn't know. They may have had a level of knowing. There was lots of engagement in bread and circuses, and keep the peons down and in the dirt, so that when you need them to do a war for you or go steal somebody else's property, they'll do it for you. But a being that is truly connected to truth could not possibly uh, do anything other than live as the presence of love.
Right. Do you have any questions, Tiffany? There's like 8 minutes left.
5.
5. Um, just a really quick question. When we have things that happened in our life to us as children, um, and we're still carrying around the memories and the suffering from that,
Right,
um, what's the best way to step into that clearing and kind of understand, you know,
right.
and to get, how do we get out of blame that, oh, this huge adult did something that made me suffer, but um, you know, we don't want to see it as, we're trying to learn how to see things in new ways.
Well, you'll remember the last intensive that you were at when
Yeah.
somebody would ask a question, Michael, how do we? I would turn to the board with my marker in hand and I'd write in nice big letters, all of the above. It's every
Right.
tool we've got. It's all of it. And
Right.
and being able to acknowledge, if the fact is that a big person hurt me, I think it's an important step to be able to say, this big person hurt me. And here I am now. I'm a big person. I don't need to be writing in cursive. I don't need to go back to my 5-year-old interpretation of what was happening to me then, but I can grow myself into an adult and I can forgive this dynamic in me. And when I'm freed of it, then I'll be able to look at that person with compassion and see the truth about what kind of suffering and pain were they in to do what they did. And Celinda sent a note saying she had some thoughts on cursive. So Celinda, come on in
Yeah.
before we get
Right.
complete here. You have something for us, Celinda, on cursive? Hello, Celinda. Your microphone's open. I can't hear you. Are you there, Celinda? Okay, well, I guess she's not going to get in. So we're down to about 3 minutes. Any other thoughts, questions, answers, ideas?
I'm complete for today. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Honored and delighted.
Very
Thanks for
good.
the conversation.
Been
It's
awesome.
always awesome to have live interaction to get it,
I
to bring
know.
it more to life. So appreciate your questions, your thoughts, and as things develop, hope we'll have 100 more of these conversations.
Well, I have more questions, so maybe we'll call you back tomorrow. We'll see what
Okay,
happens.
cool,
Okay? Cool.
fabulous. All right, have a blessed one.
Thank you
Lots of
so
love.
Thank you,
much.
brother. You
Thank
too.
you.
Okay,
Bye.
appreciate it. Take care. Okay, let's see. So, Celinda, we'll try again to see if we can get you keyed in here.
That's really good.
Okay, Celinda, you want to just try once more? I've been fooling around with these controls. I may not be operating them exactly the way they want to be operated.
You can hang up if you want and wait. See.
Okay, I can still hear you even though I've got your call disconnected. Barry, your voice is still coming through. Not sure why that is. But we'll have to play with it. We're learning. Still, deep appreciation for Needle. Yay. Thank you for being able to have this interaction. And Celinda, I apologize. I have tried everything I know. Let's try one more time to see if there's any way you can, if you push that call button again. You did show up here, but I couldn't hear you. Okay, well, it looks like that's it. It's not going to work today. Anyway, much appreciation for everybody. Thank you, and I would appreciate it if you hold the space. I got this morning to have about a half an hour with my grandson, my namesake, laying on my chest, bare chest, with skin to skin, with my grandson who's just turned 12 days old. Or, pardon me, 12 days circling. Circling years is laying by my side, so pretty sweet, pretty amazing. Feeling blessed. Appreciation to everyone. Have an awesome, blessed day and the best year yet of your eternal life. Thanks for joining us. Take care. Bye bye.